Welcome to our tutorial now on exercise 10E. We are looking at a couple of concepts and linking them up with our previous ones. So arc length and perimeter of sectors and composite shapes. So again, applying a few different things that we have already looked at previously. So again, follow instructions as per usual and make sure as well that you are reviewing the clips to help you out, and there is also hot maths if you need further assistance. So again, make sure that you put in your date and your heading, and let's go on to our notes. So we already know for our circumference of a circle. So our circumference of a circle is the entire outside, and we represent it using this particular equation, which is the circumference is 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by our radius. Okay, so let's just do a really quick diagram. So we have our circumference is our radius multiplied by 2r. So 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by radius gives us our circumference. Now we are on to arc length. So think of arc length as a little bit like just a part of that circumference. So here, it's a part of that circumference. So our arc length, and we represent it with the letter L. So it is the distance along the part of a circumference of a circle. And we have this particular formula that we use. Think of it this way. If I have my formula here, this part, this part here is telling me that it is the circumference of a circle. We know that already. But this second part here is really important because this shows me that I have a part of the circumference of a circle. Okay, so here's my part of the circumference of a circle. And this part is dictated by this particular angle, which is inside your sector. Really important. So it takes into account the part there. So your part is dependent on what angle you have between your two radii. Next part. This thing, as I've said earlier, this thing is called a sector. I like to think about it as the area between two radii and the connecting arc of a circle. To me, that looks like a slice of pizza. Here I've cut, and I have my crust, and that is my area. That is what I then eat. We then have a couple of other types of circles that we need to just be aware of. So we have a semicircle, which is half a circle, and we also have a quadrant, which is a quarter of a circle. Next part we are going on to, we can get the perimeter of a sector. So thinking about now your slice of pizza. To get my perimeter of my sector, I have to add this length, which is my arc length, to my two radii. So let's see what that actually looks like. We have a particular formula for this one right here. So let's break this formula down with our diagram. So here's my diagram. I'm going to draw my pizza. I do like a meat lovers, so I'm going to make it a meat lovers. Just put some things on it. There we go. So I have a couple of different features here that I need to keep track of. I have a radii here and a radii here. So, sorry, a radius there and a radius there. So these two are where I've made the cuts in my pizza. And then I have my arc length. So my arc length is my crust. Now I need to add those two things together to give my perimeter. So what I do is I have two parts to my equation, which is this first part tells me my arc length, and this next part is my two radii together. So these are my cuts, my radii. So to find the perimeter of my slice, what I do is I find my arc length using this formula. So I multiply my circumference by how much of the circle I have actually cut out. And then my two cuts, which are my two radii, so plus 2r is what I do. We also have these things called composite shapes. Composite shapes are really important too, because that's what majority of things are actually made up of. They're not normal squares, they're not normal triangles or circles. We have a composite shape. So a composite shape, apologies. So a composite shape is something a little bit like, let's have a drawing. So a composite shape is something a little bit like this. We could have something made up of a rectangle and then of a circle attached to it. We could have something where it's maybe a triangle and then I have a circle attached and then maybe another rectangle. Okay, and the whole point of this is you are able to have figuring out the perimeter or the area based on the type of shape. Okay, and hopping on to our quick notes now. So, quick notes, similar to what we've just done, circumference of our circle is the entire thing. And we have our particular formula, which is circumference equals 2 pi r. To find my arc length, what I am doing is, that is my crust, okay? So that's my crust length. I have to keep in mind the degree, so how much of the 360 degrees of my actual pizza I have taken out and then multiply it by my circumference. And then we've already gone over these ones. So sector is your pizza slice. So you have your 2 radii, which you've cut, and then your arc length, which is your crust. A semicircle would be half of your pizza. A quadrant would be a quarter of your pizza. And we have our perimeter of our sector, depends on the 2 radii that we add together, and then our arc length. So this is the perimeter of our slice. Here's my slice. That's what I'm going to measure. And again, we've got those in 2 particular parts. See the prior video to see what I am discussing here. So essentially we have our 2 radii, which are the sides here. And then we have our arc length, which we had here earlier. And a composite shape, so it's a shape made up of 1 or more basic shapes. So it doesn't look like just one particular type. We've got stuff added to it. Hopping on to the next video.